Here's some instructions that you are already familiar with. You have the camera and the microphone icons that you can use to turn on and off, and it's best to keep video off and microphones off during the presentation to avoid any disruptions and also help us all have a better internet connection. This icon here is where you are able to join the chat area, and you can make your comments and post your questions there that we can ask Rahim later during the session. And there's another icon that I haven't mentioned here, but there's a little hand. If you see a little hand showing, it means that you can raise your hand and you can use that feature too. And without any more delays, I think we are good to start. Oh, in fact, I just need to show you something else. I'm going to just mention the next events. We have Excel and Power BI better together. My internet is slow. With Vivek Patel, next session in July the 7th, where he will be talking about how we can better integrate Excel with Power BI to enhance our work with both tools. And then July the 30th, there's a session with Paul Kelly that will be talking about teaching us how to build an Excel add-in with with Office script. The new language that will probably replace VBA as we move more towards working in the cloud than in the desktop. And I also would like to mention, for those interested in this topic, that before that, so July 30th, Paul Kelly will be with us, but July the 21st, he will be with the London Meetup group, also talking about that same topic, but doing an introduction. So an introduction session about what is Office Script and how we can get into it. And then part two of that topic will be with Toronto's Meetup group, and the 30th of July. So feel free to join both groups. Now that everyone is attending online, we can be anywhere in the world. And if you can, you register, and if you for some reason are not able to join, if the time is awkward to you, doesn't work for you, then at least you will get the links of the recordings and all the information that you can follow upon after the session. Okay, so who do we have here? I've greeted some of the people already. We have Kotal and Brent. I can see him. How are you, Brent? And George, Robert, Lionel, Stefan. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And Oakley, thank you, Oakley. He just posted the session, the link for London's session with Paul Kelly. Thank you for assisting us. Okay, thank you so much. Rahim is with us already. And first of all, we need to thank him for being with us at such late hour for him, late or early, I'm not sure, because for him it's 3 a.m. in the morning. And so we really need to thank him for joining us today. And he will be talking with us soon. Rahim is the founder of the Excel Basement, his consulting company, where he provides different types of consulting work in Excel and Power BI for his clients and training as well. He's also been running free sessions about Excel and Power BI in Pakistan, and since the COVID crisis started. So feel free to also check that, and there's a lot of very valuable and interesting information being provided in those sessions. So feel free to check that too. Rahim, are you with us?
Hello, everyone. Yes, Celia.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahim, for joining us. Rahim chose not to to turn on his camera today. He's focused on presenting his content. So, Rahim, feel free to complete anything that I might have forgotten to say about what you do, and just take the screen and the mic and show us what you have for us today.
Sure. So I hope that everyone can see my screen and my voice is audible to all. Thank you so much for uh, accepting my request to present a topic of something very interesting about Microsoft Excel, that is predictive analytics. And I would like to thank MS Excel Toronto Meetup group, and especially Celia for inviting me here today. And I will be presenting not just the PowerPoint but also the Excel, and I will show you that how we can do predictive analytics in Microsoft Excel.
That's
So
great.
if
Rahim, just sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you. Before I interrupt you again, the question is exactly about that because I forgot to confirm with you. Do you prefer us to wait until the end and then ask questions at the end, or can we interrupt you every now and then? Will you provide us space for questions as you go? What's your preference?
My preference would be I would give a time at the end of the session around 10 to 15 minutes to ask the questions from the participants.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have 16 people now. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Celia. So, hello everyone. This is Rahim Zulfiqar Ali, and our today's topic is how to do the predictive analytics in Microsoft Excel. And as you know, that prediction is every organization is doing, either that's finance or a sales team, and it's very important for the business that they predict what is coming in near future and how they can achieve their goals. So I choose forecasting and the linear regression for this specific session. Itself, predictive analytics is a very vast topic, and as you can also might be have an experience that now we have a lot of BI tools which have the capability to predict the different models and the numbers of for the businesses. So in Microsoft Excel, we have the forecasting and regression options to do the predictive analytics. So a little bit introduction about myself is currently I'm the founder and CEO of Excel Basement Private Limited. I have done certifications in Microsoft Office Specialist versions 2013, 16, and 19. And for the last 7 years, I have been in this corporate sector, and I have trained more than 300 organizations in Karachi, Pakistan. And I'm doing consultancy work now for the Power BI and Excel as well. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer from 2016 till present as well. So you can connect me and join me either on Facebook, LinkedIn, or any other platform. I would be happy to connect with you. First, I would like to share the webinar agenda. And this will be the flow of our today's webinar. So I will tell you the introduction of forecasting, then the industry examples, then I will take you to the demonstration in Excel that how we can do and apply the forecasting functions with examples. Then if any one of you is interested to learn forecasting in much detail, so I have some learning resources which I will share. Then I will share a concept of exponential growth and tipping point, which is very necessary now. And also then I will move towards the regressions, introduction and concepts, then the demonstrations, and we will look at the world's toughest forecasting domains we have. And then last we have the question and answers and the thank you note. So the prerequisite for the webinar is that I hope that participants must understand and initial have knowledge of statistics so that you can have a better understanding that what the numbers actually are saying to you when we do the predictive analytics in Microsoft Excel. So I will be focusing on two main topics within the predictive analytics, that is the forecasting and the linear regression. So first of all, um, a simple definition of forecasting, and definitely we know that forecast is about the prediction, a future event or a trend. And if I read this definition for you, so it says that forecasting is the process of making predictions of the future based on past and present data, and most commonly the analysis of trends. And this definition has been taken from a Wikipedia. Moving forward, I will show you that how we can apply the forecasting functions in Microsoft Excel. And remember that it's not necessary that each of the organization, when they prepare a model based on forecast numbers, they apply the forecast functions. Sometimes if we do the financial modelings, sometimes uh, the businesses take the assumptions from the external markets that how their business will perform in near future, so they have the percentages, and the past numbers are applied on that percentages, and we get the new numbers, which we can say that these are the forecast numbers. And most of the people's mix the concept of budgeting and forecasting. So the budgeting process for the organization and the forecasting process are ultimately two different things, but they go parallel with the actual numbers, and then the organizations do the variance analysis. So within the Microsoft Excel, we have 4 to 5 forecasting functions. The first one is the simple forecast or forecast.linear, that predicts the future value with a linear trend. And then we have the forecast.ets function, which apply on the exponential triple smoothing, and we will see that how it goes with an example. Okay, so to make this webinar interactive, and I want a participation from the participants which are here. So can you guess the 3 words in the picture? So I have a picture on my screen, and I have make it 50% visible and 50% not. So if any one of you can guess the uh, 3 words from this.
Uh, we have already Bert suggesting jumping to conclusions.
All right. Or any other comment? So very quickly we have a comment that jumping to conclusion. Celia, what do you suggest? What do you see?
I was having trouble with the first word. Now I can see the suggestion jumping. I could see the conclusions, the last word.
All right.
Yeah, I guess I would have to go with the same.
Okay. So few participants have concluded that it's jumping to conclusions, but and very quickly we have given the answer that it's jumping to conclusion, but it's wrong. It's nothing regarding the jumping to
Yeah,
conclusions.
Robert was saying, but the second letter is an H. And that was my problem at the beginning too. But then I thought it could be kind of a shadow of the gray rectangle. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So this is how, when we have the
yeah,
business numbers, when we have the actual numbers, and we see the half of the picture in the business segments, so we can't make a judgmental statements every time that this business is growing or not growing, or giving us more profit or a loss. We need forecast to be the base point with the budget and the actual numbers, and that's why forecasting is very important before going to any jumping to conclusions on the business processes and their strategies. So that's why it's very important to see the whole picture. So not just the actual numbers are important, but the forecasting is also important for the organizations. So first, I would like to share some of my practical experience and the industry examples to the clients where I have worked. And I will not take the direct names due to the confidentiality, but I will try my level best to explain you that each of the industry has a different mindset regarding the forecasting and how they do. So first of all, the first example is a pharmaceutical company, and in the pharmaceutical company, we observe that there are two functions mainly doing the forecasting stuff: the demand department or and the supply hub, and they forecast according to the markets, according to the products, according to their clusters, retailers, and wholesalers, and they want to predict their primary sales and the secondary sales. And There are a lot of pharmaceutical companies in which the demand and supply hub goes in parallel, and they predict that if they are multinational companies, so they predict that how many markets they are working currently and which kind of demand is coming, and supply hub definitely supports the demand hub to make sure that the actual requirement can be fulfilled. Now it's, if we eliminate the forecasting, it would not be the best case for that company to increase the sales. So there are a lot of factors involved, that how they will maintain their inventory, how the supply chain actually works. So the forecasting is very important for the pharmaceutical companies. Next example is that FMCGs, they are also more focused on selling their products. Their sales departments are involved in forecasting. Uh, and they take the assumptions from the market, and it's also important that in which country and or in which region they are doing the sales, and it's also differ from each of the city and the country where they're predicting that what will happen according to the assumptions. Next we have another example of banks. And as I have also worked in a bank in 2008 till 2012, and uh, I was the business analyst in one of the bank in Pakistan. So I used to have all the data with me, and I was looking for management information system. So we have the actual number from the branches, because we are dealing with the bank, so we have the deposits of the customers, and definitely we lend to as we call them advances. So we have the difference of net interest income, so we need to predict that in which sectors we need to invest and how much interest would be generated. So the finance department was uh, charged and responsible for predicting the deposits and the advances to lend. The marketing department was also involved for advertising and sales and ROI. The HR department also involves to make this strategy for their headcount placement. So forecasting for any kind of industry is very important. And people a lot of time people mix the budgeting and forecasting concepts. So the budgeting quantifies the expectations of revenues that a business wants to achieve for a future period, whereas financial forecasting estimates the number of revenues that will be achieved in a future periods. And in the forecasting we have a lot of assumptions, and in the budgeting we have just an estimates based on our past trends. So the more effective is to have the forecast in which it could adjust according to the situations which are coming in future. And as we can now see that in the times of COVID and in this pandemic situation, a lot of organizations might not be ready for this kind of an ad hoc change, but they might have the forecast that what their business do in next 1 year or 2 years. So I would like to go for the practical side now, and I want to show you a model. Okay, so I hope my Excel screen is visible to all, right? And
Yes.
all right, that's great. So first I would like to share with a basic example, then I will come to the practical side, and I will show you that we have created a model for a bank, and then how it was aligned to do the forecasting. So as you can see on my Excel spreadsheet, you will find some number of years. So 2019 with the actual numbers, it's a simple PNL, and this organization has come up with the three strategies: base, best, and worst scenarios, and they want to forecast for the next 5 years from 2020 to 2024. And what we will do here is we will apply a formula, and then the as we select the case here, either it's a best case or a worst case, the percentage will come here as an output, and our PNL will change and shows us the forecasting numbers. So as I told earlier, that it's not necessary that every time you start with a forecast function in Excel, forecast strategies are change and depends industry to industry. Sometimes we have the percentages assumptions already with us, and we just need to apply with certain numbers available to us of the past. So here I will be using the choose function, and within the choose function, first we need to define the index number, which should be always a positive number. And in the value one, I will take the percentage of base sales growth. Then in value two, I will have the best uh, sales growth percentage, and the last I will take the worst sales growth percentage, and I will close the bracket, and I will make sure that I need to absolute some of the cell references and few will be remain the relative, and I will drag this function towards the right side. As soon as I drag this, as you can see, there is an change in the P&L, in the sales numbers, in the cost of goods sold number, in the operating profit number. Now, what let's say if the organization says that if we work on a base scenario for the next 5 years, what would be the impact of the next 5 years P&L? So when I will change the number here, so the percentage will change, the sales growth will change according to the scenario, and we can see the next 5 years numbers with us. And if the condition get worst due to any economical conditions or any assumptions, so if I change the scenario here, we can see a different kind of numbers based on worst scenario for an organization for the next 5 years. So this is the basic Excel P&L model in which we have forecasted next 5 years numbers based on a simple function called choose function. And I know that the participants are very good at Excel, and I hope they understood the choose function here. But you can also apply the VLOOKUP or index and match by doing some tips and tricks to this number. And we can also apply, if you want to make it more dynamic, we can go with the, let's say, a validation list, and here I can do input range, the three scenarios, cell link, which is already is shown as a number, and I will press OK. So as soon as I select any scenario from this drop down list, and I can put it on above of this cell, so I have the forecasted number for the next 5 years from this list. And later on, if any of the input cell percentage change by the management, the P&L will also change accordingly. So this is the one of the primary way that in Pakistan there are few organizations who take the assumptions from the external sources. They have the percentages and they apply on their models, and they predict that what will be happen in next 1 year or 2 years. When I was in a bank, so I created a model here, and let me show you here. All right, so this is one of the a very extensive model. So as you can see, there are some of the assumptions available here, and in Pakistan we have a regulatory body for all the banks, which is State Bank of Pakistan, and we need to follow the rules, and they define the interest rates according to different periods, and we call it KIBOR and LIBOR and different kind of rates, discount rates. So we have the actual rates in percentages, then we have we created a budget percentages, and then we have the forecast 6 plus 6. 6 plus 6 means that Jan to June and then July to December, and then we put these percentage as a link with our P&L statements and the balance sheets as well. So we call B2 as a profit and loss statement, and we apply it on the different numbers and different line items, and also we check on the balance sheet side as well, that how it will impact. So as you can see, there is a budget column and there is a forecast columns, and then when the business starts, we have the actual numbers and as well, and then we create the variance analysis, and we will show the management and the directors that this is the position is going on. So this is one of the extensive model which we created way back in 2010 and 11 for the bank. And as you know that banks works like branch wise, cluster wise, region wise, city wise, province wise, and then consolidated, and which includes the head office, cost center as well. So this is one of the extensive model, and this kind of practice is going on here in Pakistan. So we do the forecasting. We take the assumptions of from the external sources from the different sectors like money market, state bank, stock exchanges, and then we apply all these percentages to our actual model, right? So let's go back to the presentation. So this was the first idea of doing the forecasting in Excel. Okay, so the next is now we will come towards the functions of forecasting. So there are total of 5 functions available in Microsoft Excel, and each of have a different purpose. For example, the first function is forecast function, forecast.linear. And if we want to do forecasting on the linear trend, we can apply either the forecast function or forecast.linear. So both are same, both gives you the same result. The forecast function is available in the previous version of Excel, like 2013 and the previous versions. Forecast.linear was introduced in 2016 and the above versions. So Microsoft has given us a choice to use any of the function that gives you the same result. Then we have forecast.ets, which is exponential smoothing method. Sometimes we have an organizations which sells sweaters. For example, this the sales of the sweaters will increase in winters, but it will decrease in summers. Or we have an organization which make T-shirts. So a T-shirts demand increase in summers but decline in the winters. So we have a seasonal based industries as well. So for doing that, for predicting that numbers, we use forecast.ets, and also we apply the seasonality because we have a different kind of patterns in our data, date wise, month wise, year wise. And then definitely if participants have idea of the statistics, so they know what is confidence interval, and if they have used the statistics before, so they know that most of the times we take 95% of the confidence interval, and you can also increase or decrease as well according to the situation. Then we have the statistics for the forecast, which is alpha, beta, gamma, and alpha, beta, gamma is basically the smoothing coefficients, and we have the error matrices as well, which this functions gives us. So this is the advanced part, and I have made a slide for that as well. So if anyone of you is interested to study in more detail, I will guide you that how we can do that. So let's quickly move towards the demonstration side of for the forecasting functions, and I will take you to the Excel. Right, so I hope my Excel screen is now visible to all, and here we have some examples. So anyone of you can make sure that my Excel screen is visible.
Yes, we can see it says forecast function.
Yeah.
Example 1 sheet.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we have the first example in which we have a number of years, and we have a sales in billions, and we need to forecast for the coming years based on this trend, this past trend numbers, right? So what we can do is we will apply the forecasting function. Okay, so that is equals to forecast dot linear. Either you can use forecast function or forecast dot linear. Now there are 3 function arguments, and all of them are compulsory. So first function argument is the x, which is the value, which is the future date value. Okay, then we have known y's, the past data, and I will make them absolute. And then we have known x, so we have past data of years. So I have selected A3 to A12, which represent number of years we have. And when I press enter, it will give me a number of 29.13, and I will just copy this function till 2022, right? So now, as if you have an idea of statistics, then we have an equation called y is equals to mx plus c, and this is all about that. It's a linear trend. It's a linear trend, and as we can see that as the organizations moves ahead year wise, the sales has been increasing, right? So the numbers predicting are also rising, like 29, 31, and 34. And if I want to make a visual for this specific data, it's very easy. And I will ask one question from the participant as well, so that it should be interactive from the both sides. So I will just select the data, these three columns. I will go to insert tab, and you all know that it's very easy to create a line chart. Simply I will click on line chart, and I will delete the additional axis, which is years. Now we have a chart here, right? And just correcting the horizontal axis by revising the range, so that we can know that it start from 2011 till 2022. Now my question is that we can see a gap here between the actual numbers and the forecasted number. The forecast line is shown as a gray color and the actual sales numbers are in the orange. I want to make a connection. I want to join them together because I don't want a gap. So how would I do that? I want a participation, so that I can have an idea that how many of know how to do it.
Anyone? My question would be, why doesn't the gray line start on 2020, since we have value 29 for that?
Exactly. So I will tell you that how we can do that, but I want to uh, know that. So any
So
guesses?
it seems the number. So for example, 2011 should show 4, and it seems to be showing less, and then the 4 shows for 2012. So it seems to be some kind of disalignment there, or I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah,
Any help there? This continuous function starting point should be the same. Some people are saying, Arash, we can put 0 for the times we do not have a data for.
yeah. So the correct way is to repeat the last number. And as you can see now, there's a gap. So you can repeat the last number so that that gap should be filled, and then this line will join, and then you can see a difference that the actual numbers and the forecasting numbers. So this so
Okay.
I hope that first function is clear to all the participants, that forecast.linear is simply a function based on a linear trend, and we can predict the coming numbers. One of the very interesting example we have now here, we have another example, and we will create a trend line instead of a function. So we have a data from 2010 till 2019, which shows the sales numbers, and we want to predict that how much would be sales in 2050. So I will quickly select these two columns. I will go to insert tab, click on line chart. So I got my numbers here, right? Okay. All right. So just correcting the horizontal axis. Yeah. Right. Now we want to predict a number which is from onwards from 2019 till 2050, and we need to see the difference of time period here. So there are 31 years we need to go forward, right? So what we can do is we can add a trend line. So simply I right click on this line, and in this contextual menu we have an option called trend line. So I will just click on trend line, and at the right side we have this navigation pane. And here now, as you can see, that there are different types of trend lines, and as I told you that it depends on the industry, it depends on their business practices, that how their business model and the past number behaves. Some of the IT professional companies use the exponential or the power trend lines because they know their sales are increasing with the exponential growth. But most of the times the organizations use the linear trend. Okay, and from here you have the option. Likewise, we identified that we need to move 31 periods forward, so I will write 31 here. and I will check on display the equation on chart and display the R squared value on the chart. So now as you can see that with the
Nice.
help of an Excel chart, we have predicted a trend line to 2050, and we can also verify this number as well. And this is above a little bit of 100, I think 103 or 104. And I will also explain you that what this equation means, if any one of you don't know. So if I apply the forecast function here, forecast dot linear, so x is the future year, known y's are the numbers of sales, and known x are the number of years, past years. So this is 104.042, and which is also the same by the help of a trend line. So we can predict the linear trend as well. So this is one of the very basic and a simple example of doing the forecasting in Microsoft Excel. Let's come to the next example, which is based on seasonality and ups and downs in the patterns. So for example, first I would like to show you the numbers as a visual. So I will go to insert tab, I will click on line chart, and as you can see that we have the up, the downtrend, and the up, the down and the up, the down and the up, right? So we have the numbers going with the period wise. We have the highest sales, then it goes down, then again it rises, then again it falls. So this kind of prediction, sales predictions, we will not do the linear, but we will be using the second function, which smooths the exponential path. Okay, so very quickly I would like to use the forecast function here from the 13th period, and which is the forecast.ets. Now this function states that this returns the forecasted value for a specific future target date using exponential smoothing method. So target date will be the future time period, which is in A15, the values, which is the past historical data, I will make it absolute, then the timeline, the previous time periods, right? And I will close the bracket here, press enter, and then I will copy and paste. So now as you can see that it predicts the, at the 13th period it predicts the 90, then it predicts 72, then 61, then 52. And if I put it into the on the line chart, right, and I if I can repeat the last number here, so now you can see that we got the forecast of the next, for example, quarter as well, as you can say a quarter as well, or the next year as well. So in these kind of situations where we have a very up and down, rise and fall between the numbers, so we need to use the forecast.ets function. And one more thing is that we can also make it a group to make a good presentation here. For example, if I write 2012 here, then if I write 2013 here on the fifth value, 2014, and 2015. So again, if I create a chart again, a line chart again, so now you can see the years on the horizontal axis as well. So you can present your data in this way as well. So this can be done. So I hope these two initial functions are clear to you. Now the very interesting part, and the third part of this forecasting, we have a different four kinds of data. A website data where we have a simple different dates and the visitors who are visiting on our website on a daily basis. Then we have the deposits data month wise, and we need to predict the next quarter. Similarly, we have a year wise data of for the number of patients admitted to the hospital, their counts, and we need to predict next 3 years. And then we have the sales data for 3 quarters, and fourth quarter we need to predict. So doesn't matter in which industry you belongs to, either you are working in a bank or you are working for your own company or you are working in a hospital, forecast functions remain same. As I told my usually to the participant, then VLOOKUP is used in every organization. Some of the basic functions like 60 to 70 Excel functions used in every organization, no matter what kind of a nature business carry. But so in this way, the forecasting methodology or applying methodology will remain the same no matter in which industry you belongs to. So that's why I have created four different data here, but the skill set or the features ability will remain the same. So in the first example, we have a website data, and in which we have two columns, dates and the visitors. So I select this data and I will go to the data tab, and here we have an option which is called forecast sheet. Now this option is not available in the previous version of Excel like 2010 or 2007. You need the latest version, either 2016 or the above versions. So when I click on forecast sheet, now you can see that it gives you a forecasting which is in orange color with a lower confidence bound and the upper confidence bound, and the blue line indicates the past historical data, right? And I would like to show some of the advanced features here, and I would like to explain them that what does it mean. So forecast and means that how much time period forecasting we need to do. We can select from the date picker here, and we can increase the dates as well. Forecast is starting from, like we are starting from the 24th or 25th, so we can give a date to it. Then we have the confidence interval, right? And confidence interval checks to show, you can either show or you can hide as well. So if you can hide this confidence interval, so you will not be able to see the upper, lower, and the lower boundaries, right? If you mark the check on this option, then you can see the forecast lower limits and the upper limits. Okay, so the confidence interval is basically the range surrounding each predictive value, is which by default is it's 95%. And as I told you that you can increase this as well and decreases this as well, but you should have the knowledge of statistics so that you should not show the wrong numbers to the business. And confidence interval actually helps you to figure out the accuracy of the prediction. So a smaller interval implies more confidence in the prediction for this specific point. And so we will go with a default, which is the 95%. Okay. Then we have the seasonality. So seasonality is basically the number of the length, number of points of a season pattern, and which is automatically detected. So by default, it's automatically detected. And an example would be like in a yearly sales cycle, with each point representing a month. So the seasonality will be 12, and the default value of 1, if we apply the forecasting function, and if we put the seasonality to the 1, which means that seasonality is being identified automatically by this forecast function. And if we use the 0 in seasonality, which means there is no seasonality and the prediction will be linear. So if we use seasonality as 0, the prediction would be linear. Okay. Then we have the timeline range and the values range. This is very simple. The timeline range and the values range, as you can see here, the two columns of our data, and the ranges are automatically selected here. Then we have last two options, which is the first one is fill missing points using interpolation, right? So to handle the missing points, sometimes we have some missing points in our data. So Excel uses the interpolation, and this means that a missing point will be completed as a weighted average of its neighboring points as long as fewer than 30% of the points are missing. And to treat the missing points as 0, we can use it as a 0, or we can use the interpolation for the weighted average to calculate by the Excel. And last but not the least, aggregate duplicates using average. We have a different kind of calculations available here. By default, it's average, but we can do sum or count or max and min. What does it means is that when your data contains multiple values with the same timestamp. So for example, if a date is repeating multiple times, so Excel will average the values. And to use the another calculation method such as median or count, you can pick it from the list anytime. Okay, so by default we will go with the average, and I will just click on create button. But before that, you can see another option which is called include forecast statistics. So as I told you that when you check mark on it, you will get smoothing coefficients, which is the alpha, beta, and gamma, and the error matrices. There are four different error matrices are also available in that. So we will go with the default options for this example now, and I will click on create. So as soon as I click on create, you can see that we have the forecasted based on a past trends, which is based on 95% of confidence interval, and you can see the numbers here as well. So this is very easy, and this is based on the linear trend of the data. So we have more examples. So very quickly, if I can do, for example, this one, if I select the sales data and I will go to forecast sheet, and you can see that it shows me that forecast ends at 4, starts at 3, confidence interval is 95%. We will use interpolation in the average method, and I will say yes, okay. So this is how it's very easy to use the predictive analytics by applying the built-in feature which is called the forecasting sheets. But the primary thing is the knowledge of statistics is very important here. If the user is simply a normal Excel basic user, he will not, he can create the this kind of things, but he will not understand what the numbers are saying to him. Okay, so this was about the forecasting, and now let's me come towards the next side of this presentation. So I hope you understand how we can apply the forecasting functions and the forecast sheet feature which is available in Microsoft Excel. And you can see from this picture, we had a bad year so far. Almost every organization has, and they want to add a fifth quarter, which is not possible. You need to utilize 4 quarters, and you need to perform in that. So the wrong forecasting. So there is no fifth quarter as such. All right. So as I told you that the forecast statics functions give you the smoothing coefficients, which is the alpha, beta, and gamma, and the error matrices. So for those of you who are much interested to have, who are practically working with the forecast complex models, and I also support you that now we have the machine learning within the BI tools, but within the Excel. There are some limitations, but you can visit to this website, which is Bright Work Research, and I have mentioned the link here. You can go and you have a different industry case scenarios available on this website. So coming towards the learning resources, if you are working with the forecasting models and if you want to know more in detail, so you can go to this website and just click on that, and you will find a very great articles, in detail articles about forecasting biasness, sales forecasting, and a lot more cost of forecasting error, which is very important. Sometimes people do wrong forecasting, and which make their business profit into loss. And as I said that yes, we have some algorithms now, and we have the machine learning as well. So this is also improving, but Excel is also a part of it. And this forecast sheet which I showed you earlier is also based on the algorithm on the back end as well. And there are some more interesting articles like forecast inaccuracy, cost lost, and forecasting in the cost of production, or you want to do the transportation cost forecasting. So you can go to these links and read these articles. So this was the learning resource from my side to the participants.
Mm.
So now there is one more concept of exponential growth and the tipping point, right? And yes, so first I would like to ask a question again, so that This should be an interactive. Uh, my question is that if I have a paper, if I have a piece of paper which is 80 grams, and I fold that paper 50 times, so how do you think that what should be the length of that paper? What would be the width of that paper? I mean, if a paper is folded 50 times, you are folding 50 times that paper. So the thickness of that paper, can anyone tell me that what would be the thickness of that paper in your hand?
It's the power of the times you fold it.
Very good.
Initial thickness
Yeah,
to the power of, yeah.
exactly. Very true. So that's called the exponential growth, because
But oh, sorry to interrupt. Oakley is saying that he can't fold the paper more than 7 times, anyways. Exactly.
right. So uh, as we know that now the era of technology is becoming more advanced, and now we have a quantum computers coming in, and we have the cloud and AI and BI as well. So sometimes human mind fails in predicting the numbers. So then the computer help us to do the exponential analysis, and I will prove in just next few minutes. I will show you the data, and I will ask you the answers from that data. So with the example number one, might be you will give me an answer, but for the next examples you will not. So we need the machine to perform that functionality. So definitely the exponential growth and tipping point is very necessary, and the tipping point is the boiling point. And as we all know that after every 3 years, Microsoft releases its new version of Excel, MS Office on all products. So they come up with the industry feedback, and they introduce and apply the new features for the users, and depend on the insider fast or slow program or the Office 365 subscription. So we have the technology which is going exponentially growth, and we need to understand that the Excel is an application which can do many things related to the forecasting. But yes, as I told you that we have a limitations, and we need to shift later on to the BI and the machine learning. So there is some calculation, and I want you to participate in this calculation. As I told you that if I have a office paper of 80 grams and is 0.1 mm thick, and if I convert 0.1 mm to the kilometers, so it's would be like 0.00001. And if I fold that paper to 50 times, so Celia told the right answer that it would be exponential 50 times. So the final answer will be the 112589991. And if I divide this number to 384400, it would be 292. Now any one of you can predict. So let's do some forecasting. So any one of you can predict what this number is. 384400. Any guesses from the audience? 384400. No guesses so far. uh, yeah.
Rahim, I was talking with my mic muted. So
Okay.
Vijay was saying light speed, Brent suggesting circumference of the Earth.
Okay.
Same thing Alex is saying, miles to the moon. Robert is
Oh, excellent, excellent. Okay, so there is a video called Exponential Growth: How Folding Paper Can Get You to the Moon.
mm-hmm.
And yes, there is a video on YouTube you can watch after the webinar. Very exciting, and on the concept of the exponential growth. So by folding a paper, you can get to the moon. So easy.
Yeah.
So so the 384 400 is the kilometers, the distance between the Earth and the moon. So how the folding paper can get you to the moon? So primarily, my idea is to give you a concept of exponential, because human minds are very weak in exponential calculations, whereas the machines are very fast in doing the exponential calculations. And in next examples of linear regression, we will be finding that how machine can give quick answers, right? So you can also refer to this book, which is very good, The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, and you can read. It's very good and effective book to read about. So let's come to the regression part. First, I will give you a simple definition. If anyone of you don't know what the regression is all about, regression takes a group of random variables thought to be predicting y, and tries to find a mathematical relationship between them. So this relationship is typically in a form of straight line, as you can see in the picture here. This is called the linear regression. Remember that there is also a non-linear as well, but our webinar is more focused towards the linear regression, which the best approximate of all the individual data points. So we have two variables, dependent and independent, and independent variables can be multiple as well, and we try to do the regression and predict that all those points are.
Sorry to interrupt you, Rahim.
Yeah.
I cannot see. Are you sharing anything now?
Yes, I'm sharing my
I cannot
PowerPoint.
see. I'm not sure if anyone else is seeing.
Yeah, I'm seeing it, Celia. It's good.
Okay, sorry to interrupt then. So, okay, go ahead.
All right. So thank you. So this is the fundamental concept of the regression definition, right? And as I told you that we have a linear regression and we have a non-linear regression as well. So discussing within the Excel scope, as is the linear regression is a statistical tool in Excel that is used as a predictive analytics model to check the relationship between two sets of data of variables, and using this analysis we can estimate the relationship between two or more variables. And as I told you that we have a dependent variable and the independent variable, and these 2 points are very important, that the dependent variable is the factor we are trying to estimate, and the independent variable is the thing that influences the dependent variable, and we will quickly see in the example that how it works. But for the non-linear regression, the non-linear regression is the model which is used widely in the statistics field, where the dependent variables are modeled as non-linear functions and of the model variables, and one or more can be independent variables. So in this webinar, my focus will be on the linear side. All right, and you can see the difference between a linear and a non-linear relationship. Okay, so let's go to the demonstration side. All right, so we have now first example here. So there are two variables, dependent and independent. So the salesperson is, we can call it X, and the sales we can call Y. So the Y will be the dependent and the X will be independent. All right. So as you can see from the data, and I would like to have one question from the audience, is that if you can see the pattern here, when we increase a salesperson, the sales in increasing 10 times. That means an increase of a 10 every time. So when we increase one salesperson, the sale increases with addition of 10, right? So we have 8 salesperson, we have a sales of 80. When we add one more salesperson to it, we have a sales of 90. Now anyone can predict that when we add one more salesperson, which is the 11th, so that will be 110. Then we have 12, 120, right? So this is very easy for a human mind, human brain, that this is a simple calculation. There is no complex calculation, so we can predict very easily. And we can, our brains are basically doing the very easy calculation here. So if I want to just make it as is in a chart, so what I can do is I can go to insert tab and I will click on the scatter chart. So I can show you the pattern of a linear regression. So you can see that all the dots creating a straight line, right? And if I can add the trend line from here, going to more options, and as you can see, display the equation on chart and display the R squared values. So now there are two equations. Let me explain you that how it works. So y is equals to 10x and r2 is equals to 1. First, let's discuss the r2. This r2 means r squared equals to 1 means that this equation is 100% correct. This equation's accuracy, this r2 means accuracy, you can assume. So the accuracy is 100% correct of this above equation, and which states that y is equals to 10x. So the y is sales and x is the salesperson. So whenever we add one more salesperson, it increase 10 units or a 10 sales number every time. So the first part is the equation, that how to understand this equation, y is equals to mx plus c. So the constant value is not here, and r2 is equals to 1 means that this equation is 100% correct, because when we add one more salesperson to it, it will definitely add 10 to this number. So this is the linear regression example in Microsoft Excel. Let's come to the next part. The next part says, again, we have the salesperson and the sales here. So whenever the salesperson increases, the sales also increasing here, 25, 28, 44, 52. But if you can observe that when we have a 9 salesperson, we have a sales of 105. But when we added one more salesperson, the sales declines, the sales decreases. And whenever the sales is increasing with by adding a salesperson, is not equivalent now. For example, the difference between these two is 1, but the difference between these two is more than 1. So there is no specific pattern. Now there is a variable patterns every time when we add one more salesperson, right? So if any one of you can predict when I will add 11 here, what would be the sales number here? So if any one of you, if any participant can predict the sales number here.
Anyone? $128 is Oakley's answer.
Okay, 128. Anyone else?
Three. No, I can't. Somewhere in the 110s, Brent is saying.
Okay, we will add 110 as well. So let's predict the number now by the help of
112. 112 is
112.
his final answer.
Okay.
Richard is betting 95. Okay, bets are closed now.
Right. So let's learn that how we can predict the next number by the help of linear regression is. So quickly we will select the data and we will go to Insert tab. I will create a scatter chart here, and now there will be a line will be drawn close to these numbers, close to these points, minimum points. Okay, so what I can do is I will just click on this plus sign which is on the right side. I will go to trend line, more options, and as you can see we have a line drawn close to all the data points, and then I will also add the equation here. And now I want to explain that how we can cross check is. Now the r square is equals to 0.9717. This means that the above equation, if we calculate the next number, if we predict the next number, it will be 97% accurate. So the chances are that what we will be predicting is 97% will be accurate. 3% can be error as well. And the first equation, which is y is equals to mx plus c. So as you can observe that y is sales here, x is the number of salesperson here. So what we can do is, let's say if we are adding one more salesperson here, so with the help of this equation, so the 11th salesperson will be multiplied by 9.7857 right? And then I will add 9.3, which is the constant number, 9.3871, which gives me 117.03. And if I want to cross check this number, so I can do that as well. So first, let me just put this number aside. So if I apply the forecast.ets, for example, or forecast.linear, let's say, yeah, forecast.linear function. So my x value will be the next time period, known y's will be the past numbers, sales numbers. Then we have the known x, the salesperson. So it gives me the number which is 117.03. So from the equation, if we put the equation, we got 117.03, and from the forecast.linear we also got 117.03. So this is how you need to understand this equation, which is y is equals to mx plus c. So what would the need of doing this is, because our human minds was not able to predict the next number. If you see the example number one, this was very simplified because we know the simple trend, which is increasing every time that the person growing sales of 10. But in this next example, we have a different gaps, and sometimes number is increasing, sometimes number is decreasing. So we need to have a feature or equation, mathematical equation, statistics involved in the numbers, so that we can do the prediction within accuracy of more than 95%, right? So I hope the concept is clear now. That's why we use Excel for many times for the predicting the analytics. So this is one more practice example, and I will share the exercise file with Celia, and Celia will give this practice file to all the participants. So after that, you can practice on this data set as well. Now let's coming to the last part, and here we have one more complex example, and we will be applying the linear regression on this example. And in next example, you can do after the webinar as your practice sheet. Okay. So in this current example, we have 4 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. So this data shows that I am going to buy a new house, and I have collected a data of the nearest location of the houses, that what is the average house price, what how many years old that house, number of rooms, number of area in the square yards, okay, and what is the current price going on. So we have 4 independent variables and the current price, and we want to predict the next number. So and this data is not the actual data. This data is fake, I mean the fictitious data. So that's why might be don't go with the numbers when the output will come, but to give you an idea that how we can apply that in the regression. So for the multiple for applying the regression now, so you need to go to the data tab, and you need to click on data analysis, and I have observed that this data analysis is not presented by default in this ribbon. So you need to go to file tab, then click on options, then you need to click on add-ins, and here in the last option, which is the manage, the default is Excel add-ins. Click on go, and you need to select the analysis tool pack and click OK. So you will get the data analysis now. So when you done with this, so click on data analysis, and from here, from the list, we have an option which is called regression, and I will just click on OK. And we need to fill the fields here, and we will go with the basic options here, not with very much detail. So in the input y range, y is the dependent variable, so we know that the column E, which represent the current price, I will select the entire column from E1 to E500. This is the range of input y range. And then input x range is the independent variables. So we have now multiple variables. There are 4 variables to it. So from A1 to D500, I will check mark on the labels because I know that my data first row is contains the headers. So I would like to check on labels. If I need to select the confidence interval, I would like to have the confidence interval 95%, or I can skip this as well. Constant is 0. In this example, I would suggest to make the constant 0. Why? Because when I'm going to purchase a house, I'm more dependent on the variables rather than a fixed price. So there are few examples in which you can use constant value, but sometimes you need to make constant 0. uh, and I will go with all the default options. And when I press OK, a separate sheet will be created or generated in Microsoft Excel. And here we need not to read the every number. And if definitely you are good with the statistics, so you know that what these numbers are now telling you. But if you can see the R square here, so the R square is 0.76, which is that this equation gives you, when you predict a new number, this equation will give you 76% accuracy. And if you want to make the equation, which is the y is equals to mx plus c, so all your independent variables are here, and you can take their coefficients. So this, the equation would be like, if I want to create an equation, so the current price is equals to, now we need to have the numbers like 0. The first independent variable 0.12291 multiply by average house price, plus then we have the second independent variable, which is 419015 multiply by years old. And similarly, two more independent variables goes, and then bracket close. So whatever will be our new number will be multiplied this number, and whatever the final number we will get will have the 7% of the accuracy, right? So this is how we can use the linear regression for doing the predictive analytics. So coming back to my presentation here. So what are those world toughest forecast is, as you can see that forecasting an economic in this difficult time. So we have some questions like, what will be the healthcare systems in the future? Either the scientists will create a vaccine or any other alternate to care of for the coronavirus, or the workers will, or the employees will get to their office. So these are very complex questions, and doing the forecasting for this kind of things is much complicated. Weather forecasting is one of the still one of the very complex way to predict the weather. And especially in Pakistan, when we see that tomorrow will be a rain, and the actual will be a very hot weather here, so it's always changes. So weather forecast is very difficult to predict. So is stock exchanges prediction is very difficult to predict. So stock exchange is one of the area where the forecasting is very difficult, and we need subject matter experts to get there. So that's all from my side for this webinar, and I hope I have covered according to your expectations regarding the predictive analytics, in which I told you about the forecasting things available in Excel, and the linear regression as well. So I will be sharing my files with the Celia later on, and I would like to thank again to the Celia and MS Excel Toronto Meetup group for inviting me, and looking forward for more session in future. Thank you.
Wow, Rahim, thank you so much. I enjoyed the session. I never used these forecast tools, never needed for any of the projects so far. So
Yes.
very useful for me to learn all this stuff. How about you? How about the audience? Who is used to utilize these tools on a daily basis or on a regular basis? Anyone who would like to share your experience with forecasting? Robert is saying he enjoyed getting introduced to the forecast functions. I never used them. Yeah, it's a very good session, Rahim. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Arzu is saying this will come in handy, and he wishes he had heavy exposure to this sooner. Vijay is saying he uses Python. And Brent uses R.
Hi, Daniel. Hi. I am following her for the last 3 years, and
Danielle is
I
our
yeah,
financial modeler.
yeah. And I introduced her book in our university in Karachi 2 years back. That was very impressive book on financial modeling, and now a lot of university students are applying all those tips and tricks mentioned in her book. Thank you so much for that book.
Thank you for a great presentation. That was fantastic. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, thank you.
Gary is saying he's say again, Vivek.
I'm saying Rahim, if he can do the video, we want to see him as well.
Yeah, I said at the beginning you were not here yet. That he's 2 o'clock or 3 a.m. in the morning for him.
3:45.
He chose not to turn on his. Yeah, he chose not to turn on the video today.
Yeah. He's still in his pajamas.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, no, and we just have to thank him for being up so odd hours to be with us from Pakistan.
I guess the question I have, Celia, this is Dick, is what do you think that machine learning, Azure machine learning is going to do to the usage of this capability in Excel? I mean, this is, you could make an argument that this is baby ML is how they'd look at it. And, you know, I think it's great. I think it's probably quite practical for a lot of real business scenarios. But isn't there going to be a snob appeal that says, oh, no, you don't want to do that in Excel? You know, and is that a battle that's going to have to be fought, or are you going to win that? Because companies always want the best. They always want the best. Right?
Yes, but I would like to mention here that we have a different scenario here in Pakistan, and we have two school of thoughts. The first one is very quick and fast in adopting the technologies. So we have banks in Pakistan who have a separate business intelligence and financial inclusion departments who are already doing machine learning and more based on different supervised and unsupervised learning models. And we have at the same time organizations who are totally depend on Microsoft Excel, and they are still creating financial models and doing forecasting with simple calculations. So there are two different school of thoughts, and I would agree that the more robust and the future is definitely a BI tool and the ML models as well. But there are a lot of clients in Pakistan who are doing Excel based forecasting.
And I agree with you on that, because you know, when I'm working with the organization, Excel is always the king. You cannot beat that. But slowly, with the new advanced technology like RPA capability and all, some of the like a data pool and all, it's definitely going to more advanced technology. But when I go to organization, I always find that people don't even like, they want to use the data, but they want to use it in Excel. That's the fact. You cannot change that. They always, you have a good data warehouse, you have all those good things done, but when it comes to analyzing for self-service BI, it's always Excel.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, one of the reason for turning on the camera is basically there is no electricity here, and I'm sitting in a dark room. So there are a lot of load shedding in Pakistan. So utilizing the last moments of my battery of the laptop.
What, do you have your dog running on do you have a dog running on the wheel to keep your computer going or something?
Yeah.
What's your opinion, Danielle, if you have something to say about what was being discussed, companies using Excel or other technologies for forecasting?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely agree with what Rahim said. There's as Dick said, there's always going to be a snob factor when it comes to using Excel. It's going to be better done in other systems. So R or Python will probably do it better, but you can't get past Excel because, as Rahim said, there's companies that are always going to use Excel, and there's definitely a place for being able to do these calculations in Excel. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the companies and what the way they choose to go, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I find it's influenced by the biases of the CIO.
I guess so. Any other questions, guys? Rahim, let us know if you are okay with, if you still have battery power enough, now that you told us that you are dependent on that.
Yes, I'm available for next 10 minutes. No worries.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And also Brent is saying it depends on the level of precision that you need, and I guess the amount of data you also need to analyze, and all that will have something to do with what you should choose to do your forecasting. Any other questions, comments? Rahim, if you want to tell us where people will be able to find you, I will. Just before that, just a quick reminder. I've mentioned this. I just sharing my screen here very quickly. There's another Excel event happening soon. Excel Virtually Global 2020, and it will be in July. All these presenters, speakers, will be presenting about Excel and Power BI topics. The cost, it will last for 2 days, but the sessions will be recorded, most of them, and available after that. And I think it's $33 only. So, and it's for charity, another initiative to support organizations that help people through this going through these difficult times. So if you want to take advantage of this, I just wanted to put it out there. Liam, who we can see here now, is the organizer, or one of the organizers of the event. So I'll put the link there in the chat, and in case someone is interested. And yeah, and I think unless you have any other questions or comments for us, we can wrap the session up. And Rahim, let us know where we can find you. If people want to connect with you, what's the best way? I guess we lost him. Or Rahim is,
okay,
he was muted maybe.
Yeah. So I would prefer to, you can add me on LinkedIn. I am available on LinkedIn, Rahim Zulfiqar Ali. You can add me on any time, or you can visit my YouTube channel, Excel Basement, where you can find a lot of videos, weekly videos based on advanced Excel and Power BI, and also some of the webinars. And in Pakistan, we also conducted in 2018 a conference for all the community users as well. So you can add me on LinkedIn, you can add me on Facebook. I would be welcome to answer your queries and issues. And thank you so much, Celia. Thank you again.
Thank you, Rahim. It's us who need to thank you for being here with us and to share all that. Very, very interesting. And yeah, and everyone, you should receive a notification either on your email or on your phones on the Meetup app to provide feedback about the session. If you can do that, it's always helpful for us and for the speaker to know what's your opinion about the session, so that we can do better next time if possible. Thank you so much, everyone. I guess it's a good time for us to end the meeting.
I want to add one thing, Celia.
Go ahead, Vivek.
I don't know if anybody said, but congratulations on 500, crossing 500 members on your user group. So congratulations
to all of us. Yeah, we passed the 500 members in the group, which is great.
We can thank COVID. We can thank COVID-19 for that.
Yeah, there's always something good, a good side about everything.
I would say it is Celia's effort and
I'm kidding.
member participation, because she has been so consistent on arranging meetups and all, giving us chance to join remotely and having all those topics. And also thank you to all the speakers who are coming forward and presenting at our user group.
Yeah.
So congratulations again, everybody, members as well as Celia as a leader.
Yeah, thank you, Vivek. The important is getting the community involved. We have a lot of people here today that are regular participants, and that's for you that we all do these events. And we just hope that someone out there takes advantage of the efforts of the speakers coming in to present their knowledge. And you're next, Vivek. Right?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
You're not. You're running around the world all the time presenting. So we are lucky to have you next time. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening, your morning, your day, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you next time. If not in another meetup group with us, it will be July the 7th, right, Vivek? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Rahim. And
thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm stop recording it now, and after that, I will end the meeting. Bye-bye, everyone.